The Texas Veterans Leadership helps soldiers transition back into civilian life. In this week's Military Matters, our Stephen Cavazos explains how those in the program are now thriving in the workforce.
Transitioning back to civilian life is no easy task for any veteran, and finding the right job means finding the right resources.
It can be very challenging, but that's what our program is set up for, so we can assist those veterans with taking those skills that they acquired in the military.
Mark Kaysen is making it his mission to let veterans know they can have the career of their dreams. Kaysen is part of the Texas Veterans Leadership, a program of the Texas Workforce Commission designed to help men and women ease back into everyday life after serving in the military.
We try to support them with their needs and whatever they're going through at that period.
Texas is a leading state when it comes to resources available to veterans, and with a strong set of skills, they're a top choice in the workforce.
I think more companies, especially the larger companies right now, are looking to hire veterans, priority of service.
Kaysen knows how military skills can set you apart from the rest, having served in the Navy for 10 years.
I chose to go in because I didn't know what direction I wanted to go into, but I wanted to be able to serve.
Raised in a military family, Kaysen understands freedom comes with a sacrifice.
I wanted my children to know that I served, and I was very proud to serve.
And now he shares that message with the world. Kaysen and many others continue their work, reminding our country's heroes they're not alone.
It meant a lot to me when I came home that I wanted to be able to serve other veterans and let them know that they're not forgotten.
Stephen Cavazos, 3 News.